Okay, welcome back to your Caribou Data Science channel. This evening of Friday, June the 25th, 2021. I'm now, this is course 5, I think it's a course 6, course 5, week 1, I believe. And the hands-on activity is working with Tabula. We just had a video introduction to Tabula. Now we're going to come down here. We're actually going to try to walk through the steps of this exercise. Tabula, to a certain extent, is very easy to use. It's all drag and drop, manages the data for you and so forth. But I've already downloaded the data set here. Logging in my profile, under the Getting Started header, click Create a Viz. Okay? Now, this brings you to the Connect to Data. Do this, upload the data. This, of course, is the CO2 historical data. I presume, I don't know if it's for all countries or individual or just for the U.S. Each one of these things here is a sheet in that Excel spreadsheet. So what's next? So it looks something like that. Okay, now double click on the sheet CO2 data cleaned. And there it is. Okay, and here you can see some the data: country code, country name, region, year, CO2, and whatever this is, CO2 per capita. Okay, and now we're here. The data in the table listed in the bottom portion of the display above. By default, Tabula only shows the first 1,000 rows. Let's see if we can see a little bit of code down here. Okay, click on Update Data. Now you can see. Now this is interesting. Why we're importing all data, I don't know. So the first data goes into Aruba. It's unfortunate you can't seem to adjust this. Just as a reminder that this is the public Tabula online. Okay, so you can see some of the data, the country code, the country name, the region, the year, the CO2, whatever KT is, I'm not really sure, per capita metrics. Okay. Okay. Each row corresponds to a single data point, and each column to very good. Okay, very good. One row per variable. Tabula interprets the data for each column. The following icons, which are above the column, refer to pound sign numeric, string, globe geographic data, calendar date field, calendar with clock. So you can see world, numeric or alpha field, number. Okay? Create a visualization of CO2 emissions. Now that now your data is loaded tab, you can make a data visualization. Create a visualization with CO2 emissions are displayed per country. To do this, click on the sheet 1. Okay, sheet 1 tab. Okay. Use dimensions and measures. Okay. On the far left side of the screen is a banner with column names, gray and above a gray line in Tabula. These are called dimensions. On the far left screen is a banner. Okay? Which is above a gray line. And tabulous is called dimensions. I think it actually means columns, dimensions and data. Below this line are different measurements that you can track for these dimensions. Now I'll create a chart that displays CO2 emissions per country. Double click the country name dimension. The main display will show a map of the countries on the planet, dots indicating which countries represent the data. You mean country name, right? Okay. And there that is. Okay. The dots are the size because with no metric, the dots are the same size. With no measure selected, Tableau defaults to the scale each country equally. If you want to scale CO2 emissions, you need to include a specific measure. Double click or drag and drop the measure CO2T. This will change the size of the dots to the proportion of the. Okay. Tableau has a wide selection of options for depicting measurements for given dimensions. Most of these options are contained in the middle column between the main display and the columns, I guess. Okay? That's that right there. That's this screen right here. Customize your chart. If you drag and drop a measure on one of the option classes, such as color, size, label, you can change the aspect of the measurement visualization on the chart. For example, if you want to change the color CO2 measure, drag the CO2 into the box, the color line. Then click on the box to list the options for the color you want to use. Play around with different options. If you drag and drop a measure onto the options screen, such as color, size, and label, you can change the aspect of the measurements. For example, if you want to change the color of the CO2 measurements, drag the CO2 to the color box. Okay, let's come over here. Let's try something really. Okay, so here we got this size here. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, not sure how I did that, but it certainly worked out right, didn't it? CO2. Okay. No, we really want to color the countries according to the. Okay, let's just keep working here. So that we got that. Play around with different options here to learn what you can do. Don't worry about making a mistake. If you have to verse a change or make to a tablet sheet, just use the back arrow. Okay, change dimensions and measures. Changing either the dimension or the measure on the chart is very easy to do. Suppose that instead of visualizing CO2s per country, you want the chart to be per capita per region. To do this, double click on the dimension region and then do the same on the measure per capita. Region. Okay, see what it's doing? It's just showing us the highlighting the regions. Okay. Of course, the U.S. is it's bad boys. But you know what we really want to do somehow is we really want to color the countries and not just the regions. Okay. But let's just keep going here. Per capita. All right. Enter a title for the screen. Currently, this chart is C1. To edit the title, hover above the text box. An arrow will show you the upper left and right corner of the box. Missions. Okay. Okay. Delete a chart. If you want to delete the chart from the sheet, select the Clear Sheet button on the toolbar. Before we do that, let's come back down here. Okay. So this kind of brings us to the tool. In this activity, you use the Tableau to create a visualization out of a data set. In the text box below, two measures. What elements can you change to customize your chart? What kinds of data visualizations could you use? Okay, so that concludes this first session of Tabula. We'll continue to work along. I'll hopefully quickly learn quite a bit about Tabula, among other things. Well, let's just do one thing here. Let's say we want to do a filter. Let's show filter. Let's let's just say Afghanistan. Okay, so ideally, I mean, ideally, you would want you'd obviously want this to be centered up. We got it. So you can see CO220. What might we want to do? Well, we may want to do something. We may want to change the plot type. Do a plot by year for various countries. Okay, just change this to a line chart. Okay, so again, we just added one additional thing. We added a button for this. Okay, let's say so. So as you can see, as always, at the most basic level, it's fairly easy to. Although over here, I'd rather have a drop-down list, okay, rather than a. Okay, I'd rather have a drop-down list rather than coming down and select because you got a lot of countries here. Okay. Uh, we also want to be able to take the data and do some analysis over time, of course, some time series analysis for CO2 by countries, or maybe plot the average worldwide CO2 emissions over time. Plot the top 5 or 10 countries with CO2 emissions over time. The lowest 5 or 10 countries as far as CO2 emissions over time, and so forth. Also note that this is not really a notebook at this point. This is still just a plot. New worksheet. New data source. Okay, so this does conclude this brief session tonight. So what I'm going to do is come over here. So this concludes Tabula Day 1. All right. Be back next day or so with a new Tabula lesson. Hopefully, be able to explore some of my own data at that point. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for coming by Caribou Data Science channel. Questions, comments are always welcome in the bottom below.